Hi everyone. We had such a great night last night with the Lotus Sisters Thursday group. We were balancing a prop in belly dance, a prop that's quite well known. It's a sword, and I thought it'd be quite nice to give everyone a little insight into what you can do with the sword, how to look after the sword, what kind of sword is best for you, because that's what's really important. Finding a sword that you feel comfortable with and comfortable enough to dance with. I should say who I am and what I do and how I know about swords, really. Obviously I've been belly dancing for like 17 odd years now, perhaps more. I've been dancing with swords for more than 15 years actually, in various shows around the country. At one point I used to be known as the Queen of Swords because I used to dance with 3 of these props. Then I had a word with myself and realised that it's not about showing off with how many swords you can balance. It's more about the performance and the skill and what you do with the sword, not about really showing off. The sword is very important. You've got to treat it as a sacred item, really. You've got to treat it as if it is a sharp blade, and the experience you're creating with the sword is really quite a spiritual one, really, to me, because you're going into a meditative state. You're thinking about what move comes next. You're not doing anything erratically and in the spur of the moment. It's very careful, thought out, and you've got to be really careful where you place your feet when you're performing that. I prefer to perform all swords bare feet, because if there's anything on the stage and I've got a sword on my head, I balance it with this on. I can sort of feel my way. If there's a stone, I know where not to put my foot. So always make sure that you're performing in a comfortable way. If you prefer bare feet, perform bare feet, and make sure the stage is clear. Let's talk about the different types of swords. So it's all about really finding a sword that suits you as a performer and a dancer. A lot of swords come with this hilt thing here. Some don't. Some come with a distracting piece tied to that end, which I don't like personally, but somebody might like themselves, like a bit of cloth or a cord. For me that would get in the way, so I don't really like that sort of sword. Some people prefer the more chunkier swords that people have labelled tribal swords. It's not really a word that I like to use myself, but those what they're labelled as. They're more chunky blades, more like a scimitar, sort of more Middle Eastern looking, shall we say, sword. And if actually you can get them with this holster, that's best for looking after your sword. Myself, I prefer the sort of thinner swords, the sort of more cavalry style sword. For me, I find that easy control. I quite like it. It's nice and it's not too heavy to balance on your head. So talking about these sort of blades, you can get long blades, you can get short blades. It's really up to you as a dancer what sort of sword you find suits you. I have to say, some troops like to have matching swords. My troop don't have matching swords. That's because everybody's body is different and everyone finds it more comfortable with a different side of sword. For instance, somebody's wrists might be a bit weak, which that wouldn't be suitable for, because you have to hold the sword in a certain way. People might find it easier with a heavier sword, some people might find it easier with a lighter sword. So everyone in my troop has a different sword and a sword they found that they really like that suits them. First things first, really treat your blade with respect. If you're on stage, never ever clack the swords together as if you're sword fighting. That is one way that you're going to damage the sword, and if the sword is damaged, you won't be able to balance it. If the sword is slightly bent, you won't be able to balance it. Literally, when you're storing your swords, I would always recommend you could get one with the holster, I don't know what they're called really, the sheath. Get one with that, because it will keep your blade nice and straight. If you haven't got one with the sheath, always lay it flat. On top of wardrobes is quite good, with the hilt over the edge, because that's a different shape, just so the blade is nice and flat, and then there won't be any problems. You can always tell if a blade is bent because the sword doesn't lie straight up. The sword will lie slightly to one side. Can you all see that? Or slightly to one side, and it's very difficult to balance and turn with that sort of bend in your sword. So that's care of your sword, and also make sure it's nice and shiny, not covered in fingerprints. We never, as a rule, touch the blade like this when we're dancing. We always hold underneath and we treat it as if it is a sharp object. So that is all care for your blade. I would say as well, don't brasso or clean your sword or put oil on it if you're going to perform with it. I did that many years ago, 15 odd years ago. It's a learning curve because it feels like a slippery eel and you'll never be able to balance it. The shine might look really brilliant, but you just look shit on stage because you won't be able to balance it, and that's what you're there for.